Most people who are vulnerable to cults are longing for something. They want to belong, they want to fit in, they want to make a difference, they want to be important. Tony and Susie did preach the end days. They used the book of Revelations to teach absolute right and wrong. And everyone there believed that whatever Tony and Susie said came straight from God.
In 1998, Tony settles in the newest community in Fouke, Arkansas.
I didn't know what a compound felt like. It just felt like a close family. We all knew each other, we all hung out together. Everyone had different jobs in the church, and that was just our life. I don't think that I really had much thought of the outside world at that time. And I remember one day seeing one of the women, like, in his room. I was so confused. I started asking, like, the girls, what are they doing in there? Desiree, you need to go talk to Tony. You need to ask Tony about that. There was another girl, and there would be times where you can hear them having sex. My eyes started to open. I remember asking questions like, is everyone married to Tony?
The Word of Life Christian Church wasn't a part of your life, it was your life. Everything you did was in service of the church. It was the only personality trait that you could identify as, and everything ultimately led back to your service of the church.
With Jerry's death, the church is leaderless, and all they can do is look to his daughter, Tiffany, who at the age of 25 takes over.
God spoke to me, which I shared it with you.
They believed that Tiffany had a line to God as well. They were really excited at first, but that only lasted a little while. She began isolating followers, berating them, holding these counseling sessions where she would just berate them for hours.
A counseling session is a Tiffany Irwin-led interrogation as to all of your sin, where they usually have the members of the church circle around you, and Tiffany will stand there and review what she feels like is to be your sins of the moment and what you need to repent for.
They try to force a confession out of you, but you hadn't done anything.
Luz del Mundo believes in restoring the original practices and beliefs of Christianity, and especially a strong emphasis on apostles being who governed the earth. Those people are supposedly not to be questioned by the followers.
The churchgoers have pictures of the apostles in their homes right next to the picture of Jesus, right next to pictures of their family members.
They finally told me, okay, if you really want to serve the servant of God, the most precious thing that you can give him is your virginity. I thought, okay, well, this is the only way that I can get the blessing of serving the servant of God at a high level. And I thought, yes, I can do this. It's for him. It's for him.
People confuse FLDS with other Mormon fundamentalists, but it's a break-off sect of the mainstream Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They believe Jesus is the Son of God. They believe that in the next life, humans will be able to train to become gods, have their own worlds, create their own universes like our God did. In the 1930s, a group of exiled polygamous refugees from the mainstream church moved down to Short Creek.
Short Creek was established along the Utah-Arizona border, and its location is strategic.
It's no accident that it's built right on the border, because if you commit a crime and the police show up, you can just cross the street and enter another jurisdiction. And they go and buy a lot of property down by El Dorado with plans to move the community there so they can live in a more isolated place with a government that doesn't seem to care what people do.
Warren names this new refuge Yearning for Zion, or the YFZ Ranch.
This was the place where the faithful people, the most fervent people, would be placed. And at the time of revelation, the rest of the earth would be wiped clean, and the people of the YFC Ranch would be the remaining inhabitants of the planet.
I remember watching and realizing that some of these underage girls were mothers. They were not siblings. These young children were obviously too young to be bearing children. And we realized that sexual assault of young children had occurred.
Once the molestation started, as the time went on, I always lived with that sense of fear, like, okay, well, I do have to keep the secrets because I don't want to be responsible for bringing a black man down.
As 13-year-old Habiba grows up in the Ansarullah community, York's demand for absolute obedience begins to split apart her family.
My oldest sister right above me got kicked out because she said she wants to do college. And then my brother got kicked out. So my mom became really worried. She was like, I got kids that never seen the streets. They were born in the community. Habiba, if you want to stay, you can stay, but I can't leave them.
People would look up to him. Women would just like him, even the way he could just talk to them. It's almost like he had magic on him, like, seriously.
But when Elishaba turns 5, her father has a revelation and claims he's found Jesus.
All the marijuana and all that stuff went into the trash, like, overnight. And he went from being, like, this hippie and everything to being a Christian.
Bobby changes his daughter's name from Butterfly to Elishaba, which means God is my oath, erects a 7-foot cross on the commune, and instructs everyone to call him Papa Pilgrim.
He was the lens through which they had to interpret the Bible. And when you give someone that kind of power, they know to not question him, because he's not only your father, he represents God.
His #1 prayer he'd pray every time we prayed was that our family would all live or die together at the same time.
Pilgrim tells the townspeople they're just a wholesome Christian family looking for a forever home. But not everyone feels warm and fuzzy about their arrival.
When I met them, I knew immediately that very bad things were happening within that family. This evening ensued, and I saw a lot of things. Everyone's eating, really loose and jovial. I'm talking to the older boys, and Joshua was the second oldest. I ask a question that he answers, and all of a sudden, the whole room got deathly silent. Joshua looked down at his lap and started to shake. And Pilgrim said, Joshua, I don't think you're remembering that correctly. And what I saw in that moment is if we weren't there, the stick was coming out. And I really started to wonder what's going on.
Lou Castro drives a Corvette with an Angel license plate. Lou is interested in residential properties, and Jennifer just happens to be a real estate agent.
My mom was gonna go show him some houses, and so he came over and just introduced himself to my sister and I. He was just very knowledgeable and very charismatic. And my mom just developed a bond with him.
Jennifer soon reveals to Sarah what's behind that bond.
She swore he was an angel who was thousands of years old and who could see the things that were going to happen in the future and who would help protect us and get us through everyday life. He had told my mom that when people would cross over to the other side, that he could bring them back to this side if they wanted to come back.
But it's like Lou Castro doesn't exist.
Everybody has a paper trail, but there is no paper trail for Lou Castro. I cannot find it.
For Goodwin, Lou Castro is an enigma, and he can only guess what goes on at Angel's Landing. But Sarah knows.
There was definitely a price that you paid for having all of this fancy stuff.
One evening while her mother is at work, Lou calls Sarah to him. He has seen her future, and it doesn't look good.
Lou told me that I was broken and he needed to fix me if I ever wanted to grow up and have my own family. I asked him how he would fix me, and he said he needed to have sex with me in order to do that. Lou told me that she was dead. And I said, "You killed my mom. You killed my mom." And he just wouldn't answer me. And so as he was walking up the steps, I was like chasing after him, saying, "Why would you do that? Why would you take my mom from us?" I feel like Lou, in some way, manipulated her into killing herself. That he convinced her to run into the truck. I just don't believe that she would, in her right mind, choose to leave my sister and I at such a young age.
Debbie and Kenny make the 1,300-mile trek from South Carolina to Eula, Texas, 180 miles west of Dallas. It's a small town of about 120, almost all of whom are House of Yahweh members.
The general beliefs of House of Yahweh are apocalyptic, that the world will end at a certain point and there are only a chosen group of people that are going to be saved when the world ends.
After a week of settling into their new lives, Debbie and Kenny are granted an audience with the House of Yahweh's spiritual leader, Israel Hawkins.
The first time I met Israel Hawkins was the first feast we went to. He's a man of a very tiny stature, and he was welcoming Kenny and me and asked if we had any questions, and it was kind of nice. He was still very accessible at that time and actually enjoyed having a line outside of his office for people, especially first-time people, to come and visit.
Debbie and Kenny have seen enough and are ready to commit. But before they can become full-fledged members, there's a trial everyone must do.
They had a ceremony called the All ceremony. The Alling ceremony is actually for a slave. We were all supposed to be slaves to Israel.
And minor surgery is regularly performed on members by unqualified people.
None of the structures or organizations outside of the House of Yahweh were to be trusted because they were evil and, influenced by the devil. I mean, my mom almost died in childbirth, giving birth to my youngest sibling that was born there.
Israel declares even more rules to subjugate women and for his personal benefit.
NXIVM was set up as a self-help organization. They offered the ability for you to change your life by being a member. And most cults are gonna promise that. People aren't as invested in religion as they once used to be, but they're still invested in personal development and increasing their well-being. And that is what's making groups like NXIVM be able to thrive, because they removed the religion. People wanted to see and be seen. They were able to give you access to a group of people that you may not have ever been in the room with.
She began telling me about a mentorship program, and that it was basically with all these high-powered women that wanted to help mentor other women to be these powerful lights in the world. She said that she's been in it for over a year. It's helped her tremendously. It was called The Vow.
But this incredible opportunity has a bizarre catch.
She said that in order to join the group, I would have to submit 3 pieces of collateral. They needed something that could be detrimental to your reputation. And that made me feel uncomfortable. She said that we needed to submit these things in order for there to be an exchange of trust, because these are such high-powered, affluential people. I submitted some secrets and a notarized letter of something that I did that I felt bad about. She accepted the collateral. Then I was in.
We'd just gotten done feeding the horses in the barn. I look out to my right, and I just see like 20 or 30 cars coming down the road. Like something is going on.
As a member of the extreme Amish offshoot cult, the Bergholz Clan, Johnny is stunned and frightened by the sight.
There's vans and cop cars everywhere. And we see people like surrounding Sam's house with long guns. People go storming into the house.
The raid is the result of a multi-county effort to stop a series of brutal assaults happening to Amish people all over Ohio.
Sam was a fairly well-to-do guy. He had money. Everybody wanted to be close to Sam. Everybody wanted to be his best friend. I remember him becoming bishop. And it wasn't long after that, things started getting a little weird. Sam, he thinks that his way is the only right way, and everybody else has strayed. They're going to go to hell, that they're doing wrong according to the Bible. He could no longer get along with the bishop and elders in the church he was in. As soon as he suspects that you're not on board with everything he's doing, he finds a way to make you be the bad guy. The way Sam used church discipline was not the way it was meant to be used. Whenever Sam wanted to punish someone in church, he would bring it before the whole church, and he'd be like, look, this person did X, Y, or Z. This person needs to be shunned for 2 weeks, for a month, whatever. If any of the members had a problem with the punishment he was bringing, he'd be like, well, look, if you don't agree with me, I'll just put you out right with this guy that we're punishing.